We're in week 4 and the tight end position is already all over the place. Undrafted guys in the top 4. None of the big 3 in the top 4 at the position in fantasy points scored. Understanding the matchups and key stats is going to be critical to nail those rankings and start-sit decisions this week. We're going to walk you through our tiers and rankings for week 4 at the tight end position. We're going to start with the big 2, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers. Trey McBride obviously playing Thursday night. We're recording this before Thursday night, so we're not going to touch on him too heavily. But Brock Bowers, so far this year, slight reduction in snap share, obviously carrying an injury, but Michael Mayer sounding like he's going to miss this week. Do you think that this could be the bounce back and breakout game for Brock Bowers so far this year?
I think it would go a long way. And whenever you're playing against the Chicago Bears, you've got to have a lot of confidence in anyone. The Bears rank 10th in fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. They also rank 3rd allowed to the wide receiver position. We know that Brock Bowers effectively is like a wide receiver in the way which he plays sometimes. And it would be a good spot for him to go out there and show us that. Obviously, last week was slightly disappointing, 38 yards in back-to-back weeks. But across 3 weeks, we've still had 21 targets. Like, that's really positive usage at the tight end position. And I do trust that he's going to be able to put it right.
Yeah, we're going to move into our A tier. Tucker Kraft, Jake Ferguson, Tyler Warren, Juwan Johnson, and Hunter Henry. Tom, I've been pretty critical of Jake Ferguson so far this year, saying that he doesn't add any value. He is just a volume sponge. Last week, he saw 48% targets per route run. That is absolutely insane. No CeeDee Lamb this week. Tough matchup against the Packers. Is that just going to force feed him the ball? And that's the reason why we should believe he is the tight end 1 overall so far this year.
I think it works. I mean, like we've kind of talked about in the other videos, how Green Bay haven't allowed a 20-plus yard passing play so far this year. So if you can't get the ball going deep, and, you know, this is a defense that's allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver position, then moving it closer to the line of scrimmage, it makes sense. The Packers allow the 6th most fantasy points to the tight end position so far. We've seen each and every week that they've been a little bit more vulnerable there, that you can actually move the ball there. It's not necessarily particularly fruitful, but it's worthwhile. And Mike Clay had this on Twitter the other day. Jake Ferguson faces the Packers this week for the first time since he scored 3 touchdowns against them in the playoffs during the 2023 season. He hasn't scored a single touchdown since that game. So if you're playing Jake Ferguson, then you know what you're getting into. You know that he is not the most reliable, but at the same time, the matchup points towards elite volume here, and there isn't necessarily a reason why you should be incredibly scared of it.
Yeah, and Juwan Johnson, Tom, you've been the preeminent Juwan Johnson fanboy over the past couple of years. 15.6 points, 15.9 points, 11.1 points, and a tough matchup this week. We're expecting the Saints to have to throw the ball a lot. Is it just Juwan Johnson, top 6 tight ends, and feel confident in that no matter what?
Yep. Yeah, I don't see any reason to go away from it on anything. I think that we're seeing him getting plenty of red zone targets. He's playing on the fastest paced offense in the league. They have the most plays per game. They have the fewest seconds per play. They keep the tempo up, even when they're losing, even when they're beyond 7 points. The Saints are just going to keep going and keep doing things to Kellen Moore way. And we knew this is how Kellen Moore wants to play coming into the season. They are 16.5 point underdogs against the Bills in Buffalo. And that just speaks to a very pass-heavy script. And I think that Juwan Johnson could finish as high as tight end 1 this week.
Love that. I'm all aboard the Juwan Johnson fan train. If you are finding this for the first time, welcome in, welcome on board. Hit that subscribe button. We're doing fantasy content all day, every day, getting you ready for those start-sit decisions. Moving into the B tier, Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson, Dalton Kincaid. Tom, you were a big fan of Sam Laporta coming into the season. He's been below 20% targets per run the last 2 weeks. Are you getting nervous that there's just not enough volume in this offense, given they're the 3rd lowest pass rate ever expected and are running the ball at a ridiculous rate?
Yeah, definitely a little bit. I mean, part of that though was because the Ravens were just so awful against the run last week, wasn't it? So it's like, why go away from something when you can have two drives that go 95 yards and you're able to run the ball down the Ravens' neck? Like, there isn't going to be the passing volume. Now you can say this week with the Browns underdogs by 9.5 points in Detroit, in theory, maybe there isn't going to be the same kind of passing volume, but they are at home in Detroit, which I think makes a big difference. We know Jared Goff is a more comfortable quarterback when he gets to sleep in his own bed and when he gets to play inside. So I think that I'm still okay starting Sam Laporta here. If it doesn't hit this week against the Browns, would it be the most surprising? Probably not. But if we get another 2 weeks where Sam Laporta isn't really doing it, then definitely it starts to become a serious cause for concern.
Yeah, and Dalton Kincaid, he's producing for fantasy, but I keep saying it, playing around 50% of snaps feels like the rug could get pulled at any minute. Are you with me saying that the rug's going to get pulled, or are you doubling down that there's more production coming?
Well, this was the first year I've kind of always been out on Dalton Kincaid. I thought the price didn't match up with what you got from him, and even I think it was last week before last week's game, I kind of tweeted that Dalton Kincaid had gone. I think it was like 18 games in a row without going over 55 yards, which then, of course, he does against Miami. Now, lots of things happen when you play Miami that don't happen against other opponents. But again, the Bills are 16.5-point favorites here, so that makes life easy for them. I just think that we're seeing Kincaid staying consistently involved here. 16 targets, been at 6 in both of the last 2 games, and he's actually playing slightly more on play action, I believe, than normal, which makes a big difference. Now, Dawson Knox isn't going to completely fade away, but Dawson Knox doesn't feel like he's quite as involved as he used to be. Sometimes they're leaning on the other tight ends. And I just think that Kincaid, when they need him, he is going to be there. And I'm comfortable enough playing him as a low-end tight end one every week.
Yeah, I think you've just got to understand what you've got in him. In that there are going to be some boom weeks. I think by the end of the season, it's probably going to look good, but there's going to be some disappointing weeks along the way, and you just kind of got to accept it. Part of that is the tight end position, but I think it's going to be more so boom bust in someone like Dalton Kincaid.
Partly the Bills' offense as well. This is what we saw last year and what we saw the year before. They aren't going to key in and just absolutely slam volume to one player. They will mix things up week to week.
Yeah, moving into, let's call it the geriatric tier. Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews. I called Mark Andrews washed, done, dusted, fantasy career finished. So, of course, he had an absolute boom of a week last week. Are these guys all just touchdown or bust moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, well, let's start with Mark Andrews because, again, I said that he was droppable in redraft leagues in a short we put out. And after waking up at 5 a.m. Monday morning to watch the game Tuesday morning to watch the game. And then I switched on my phone afterwards and looked at the comments, and handily YouTube had decided to push that video back into the algorithm and hit with a slew of, he just scored 2 touchdowns, bro. Well, do you trust him? Did you start him? And do you trust him is the question that I asked nearly every single one of those people. And look, I'm a Ravens fan, and I've definitely leaned into my Ravens when they're good. And I don't trust Mark Andrews right now. I don't know how you could possibly trust him with the return of Isaiah Likely looking likely this week. And Mark Andrews, you had 0.5 points, 0.4 points in standard, and then you hit 21 points. Like, just to go over that in PPR, because I didn't realize I was reading from standard, 1.5 points, 1.4 points, and then 27.1. Like, I'm not sure that I can trust that all of a sudden Mark Andrews has it figured out. And now with Isaiah Likely back, is suddenly going to be a top tight end again. Like, look, you mentioned it. Touchdowns matter so much in this position, and this is the touchdown relevant position. Zach Ertz keeps getting into the end zone, and he's good with it, and that gives me a little more faith in him. Travis Kelce has had some massive games against the Ravens over the last couple of years, but he looks so slow and so out of juice. And he's averaging 3.3 receptions per game. He's never been below 4.2 in his career. He's averaging 44.7 yards per game. Again, he's never been below 53 in any of his seasons. His yards per target is kind of being fluffed by that big reception in week 1. And again, it's like he needs to score touchdowns, but I'm not sure this version of the Chiefs offense is one which we particularly want to rely on. And if I could move Travis Kelce, then I definitely would be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw him trading in my home league this week, and I think that's the move. Maybe you can get a trade just based on name value alone, and maybe take a dart throw at one of the more up-and-coming tight ends, shall we say. If you want to know who to trust, who not to trust, and of course now those start-sit decisions, we're taking questions in the comments below. 100% of them answered before kickoff on Sunday. Moving into the D tier, we got the double Browns and then Kyle Pitts. David Njoku, Harold Fannin, Kyle Pitts. The Browns guys lined up back to back. This was David Njoku's tight end room. Harold Fannin has started to eat into it, getting more and more snaps in the one tight end sets every single week. Do you think that there's a world we could flip these two and have Fannin over Njoku very soon?
Not yet, no. Because last week he saw his route participation drop to 52% after being at around 65% in both the first 2 weeks. And then the Lions, I mean, they're not an incredible defense right now. They have allowed the 4th most fantasy points to the position, but I just don't know how I'm supposed to trust either of these guys or start either of these guys. Like, that's why they're back to back, because we just don't know which one's going to separate at any point. We like both players, but the Browns offense, it's been pretty miserable so far. Joe Flacco, we're at the point where Stefanski's getting asked, is Joe Flacco the starter next week? And that seems like it's going to continue. And with the rookies, Gabriel, Sanders, I don't have any faith in either of them either. So, like, again, it's a situation that I'd rather not have any part in. And honestly, like, I can't remember in the individual ranks, but I feel like I'm higher on Kyle Pitts than yourself this week, and I would be much happier starting Kyle Pitts than these guys. Obviously, didn't work out last week against Panthers. Not a lot did for the Falcons last week, but he had a route participation of 96% of Atlanta's dropbacks last week. This is something that we just didn't see from him last year when he perhaps wasn't healthy or perhaps wasn't playing particularly well, but now he's out there constantly, and it's starting to pay off fantasy in a way that we've not seen since possibly his rookie year.
Yeah, I think you've got Kyle Pitts at 13. I've got him at 18 this week. I guess I'm just a little bit concerned about this Falcons offense. I'm not sure there's going to be many touchdowns in this game. I don't think that Kyle Pitts is getting that red zone usage, whereas there are other guys that I would just rather take a dart throw that they catch a touchdown. And that's the reason why I've got other guys ranked above him.
Yeah, I mean, in just one more point in favor of Kyle Pitts, he's not been below 7.7 PPR points this year. He's been at 7.7, 7.9, and 12.2. Like, those aren't mind-blowing numbers, but it's a level of reliability that can be hard to find in the tight end position.
Yeah, I think it comes down to what do you want, isn't it? Do you want a high floor, low ceiling? Then Kyle Pitts is probably your answer. Do you want someone that could give you 0 but could give you 15, 16? Maybe there's other guys that I'd rather take a dart throw on. And that's why rankings are always tough, and that's why I'll always lean towards tiers over pure ranks. Moving into our final E tier, we've got the guys that are starting to show some flashes. Brenton Strange, Dallas Goedert, Chigga Okonkwo, Johnny Smith, Dalton Schultz, Jake Tongs. I want to touch briefly on Brenton Strange and Chigga Okonkwo. It feels like these guys are showing enough for me to want to rank them higher, but I just can't quite get there each week. It's teasing, it's tantalizing, but it's just not quite satisfying enough. Do you think that over the next few weeks, these two guys could emerge and sneak up into that C or maybe even B tier?
Maybe. I mean, like, we got quite aggressive on Brenton Strange a couple of weeks back against the Bengals, and then it didn't quite work out. I think that this is the kind of area of the field where you want to target the Niners. They have given up the 11th most fantasy points to the tight end position so far. They've given up 3 touchdowns to players playing out of the slot, which is the second highest. So working that area of the field would make sense, and we know how unreliable the wide receivers have been for Trevor Lawrence so far. So, yeah, I'm definitely good with that. Chigakonkwo, I'm just struggling with Titans in general. Like, I was quite high on them this offseason. So far, Chig hasn't really done anything when Calvin Ridley's been incredibly inefficient, and the only bright spark of that offense has been Elikiah Manor. Maybe things get going this week, but the Texans defense, they're a good team on defense and feel like they can probably make life quite uncomfortable for Cam Ward. So it's not a week where I'd be looking at Chig even as a dart throw.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Got any top start decisions? Get them in the comments below. We'll answer all those questions and make sure you nail the start sit decisions before kickoff on Sunday. Check out these other positional rankings videos and shows that we have released this week. And of course, hit that subscribe button on your way out.